welcome back to the Cali G Kitchen, and welcome to day 68 of your 101 day food and fasting program. Today we're cooking cod in gluten-free breadcrumbs with chips, peas, mushy peas and curry sauce. So we've got some water on first of all, just for our potatoes. We've got two big juicy potatoes right here that we're going to make into chips. We're leaving the skins on. So because that water is already boiled, we're going to get these chips on the go. So we want our chips to be like around 1.5 centimetres, 2 centimetres max. Let's have a look. 2 centimetre chips, 1 to 2 centimetres, that's about 1.5 centimetres. I'm going to chop them lengthways like this first of all, and then let's have a look. I want some nice big chips, and I'm going to chop these bits into threes. I'm going to place them into this water gently so that I don't burn myself. Just be careful when you're doing this. Ideally you should have probably started with the potatoes in the pan, then poured boiling water over the top. But there you go. I'm going to let these simmer away for 6 minutes. 6 minutes, then we'll get them out, we'll drain them off, and we'll let them steam off as well. We'll let all the steam kind of evaporate, just so that we get that nice and crispy outer coating. While we've got the chips on the go, I'm going to make a start and make our gluten-free breadcrumbs. So we are starting with some almonds. We're going to turn these almonds into almond flour, and we're going to mix it with some desiccated coconut, some already done gluten-free bread flour. So going in with about 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup of almonds, and we're just going to blitz these until they become a fine dust. I see a fine dust, more like breadcrumb consistency. As soon as you've got no lumps in there, you are good to go. So what we're going to do now, we are going to make the flour, we're going to prep the fish, and then we're going to make a start on the curry sauce and the mushy peas as well. And then when we've got like 5 minutes towards the end of cooking, we're going to put the fish on to fry. So we'll get all this prepped, and then we will come back for part 2. So first of all, going into this bowl, we're going to make 3 plates. We're going to have a bowl to dip the fish in. Egg wash, egg wash, flour, flour, egg wash, breadcrumbs. So into here, the ground almonds. We want around the same amount of desiccated coconut. And then we want our gluten-free flour. Let's have a look. So yes, so we do need some gluten-free flour in here as well. That's corn flour, don't need that. Not yet anyways. Quarter of a cup of gluten-free flour going in as well. Keep that aside because we're going to use that again. So this is going to be the breadcrumb mix. Just going to whisk this up with a whisk, get rid of all these little lumps. One thing I haven't actually added into this recipe, but it definitely is going in. I'm going to salt and pepper these breadcrumbs. Give these chips a little bit of a stir, make sure there's none sticking to the bottom there. So we've got our breadcrumbs there, which we'll put aside for a second. We're going to drain our chips off, drain them off and lay them out to steam off. What we're going to do while we are prepping our fish is just lay these chips on out, skin side down if they've got skins on the side. I want to basically get rid of all of this steam, all of this excess moisture. So we're literally going to give those 3 to 5 minutes. While we do, we're going to get this air fryer on. Well, I thought we were. No, it's not being plugged in. It's plugging in. There we go. Yeah, like I said, we're just going to give these 3 to 5 minutes. Just let all of that steam come off. That is the key to getting crispy potatoes, crispy chips, crispy roasties, any kind of chip, any kind of potato that you're trying to get crispy. Parboil, take out some of the starch and then let them steam off. And I am going to give them a little bit of a waft just to give them a helping hand. A little extra gluten-free flour going in there to dip the fish into. What we do, we dip the fish in there. It's going to put the coating on the outside. Then we dip it in the egg wash. That's going to basically make the egg wash stick to the fish. This is going to stick to the fish. Then the egg wash will stick to this, and then this will stick to the egg wash. If that makes sense, and it'll make like a kind of breadcrumby batter around the outside. And we need an egg. Going in with 1 full egg into a bowl. I'm just going to whisk this up. 2 decent sized bits of cod there. Probably didn't need to have both of those. Tell you what. We'll use this piece. So, first of all, into the flour. Kind of just pat this down, get a nice coating on it, and then into the egg wash. Again, making sure you're getting a nice coating on it. And then into the breadcrumb mix. Making sure it's nicely coated. Like so. I'm actually going to do both bits. Why not? So again, into the gluten-free flour. Into the egg wash. And then finish off in the gluten-free breadcrumb mix. Yeah, I'm going to kind of just let that sit in the breadcrumb mix just until we're ready to fry it. We'll give it a little dust off and then it'll be going into shallow fry. Our chips have just about steamed off, so they'll be getting coated in some coconut oil now, and then we'll put them into the air fryer. If you haven't got an air fryer, you want to be using your oven on 220 degrees. Show you what I've got going on here. I've got some coconut oil going into the basket of my air fryer. Now these chips have steamed off, they're going in to this basket. Just going to give them a gentle little bit of a shake around. Try and keep those chips nice and whole. We're trying to give them a nice coat in the coconut oil. Now that those are nicely coated, we will get some salt and pepper onto them. One last little mix. Then those are going to go in to the air fryer for probably 25 to 30 minutes. I'm going to check them in 20 minutes, see how they're doing, give them a little bit of a mix around, and then adjust the cooking time accordingly. 20 minutes. There we go. What we're going to do now, while those chips are cooking away, we'll make a start on our curry sauce, and then we're just going to let that simmer until we're ready to serve it. We're going to get some heat to this pan. We're going to chop up half of this onion. Kind of making like a chip shop style curry sauce here. So feel free to leave these onions out if you don't want them in, but I kind of do. We're going to chop them very, very finely. I don't know if you can see that. That's what you kind of want to do. And then go straight across so you get little onion pieces like this. And just roughly go over the top of them, just chopping them even finer. If there's any bigger bits in there, trying to make an effort to chop those up. going into our pan with some coconut oil. Actually no, nearly got it wrong. For these onions, we are going to cook them in butter. So, going in with a knob of butter. Curry and looking for 5 spice. Got our curry sauce, garlic, ground ginger, 5 spice, mild curry powder, garlic granules, Chinese 5 spice, and some ground ginger. Kind of just softening these onions, browning them in that, gently browning them in the butter. Don't need that on a high heat at all. Get really just onto a gentle simmer. That's what you want to be doing. We'll go in with our herbs now, and these are going to cook gently with the onions for a minute or two. So we want 2 tablespoons of curry powder, and as it says in this recipe, half of this sauce is actually for tomorrow's meal as well. We're going to upcycle this into our curry peanut sauce. So there's 2 tablespoons of curry powder gone in, 1 tablespoon of the Chinese 5 spice, half a teaspoon of ginger, and half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Half a teaspoon of ginger, and half a teaspoon of garlic powder or garlic granules. Try it when you're getting garlic granule. If you can't get garlic powder and you get garlic granules, just look for the fine ones. Sometimes you get like little clumpy ones, which you don't really want to be putting into this sauce. We're just cooking down those spices and the onions just for another minute. Like I say, we're just cooking these spices and these onions just to release the flavour, just to soften those onions a little bit. I'm going to go in with just a drop of water. Okay, now we're going to get some heat onto the pan. We're going to add 1 cup of water. Is it 1 cup or 2 cups? We are going to go in with just a touch more water, as we are making enough for tomorrow. So we've got 1.5 cups of water gone in. We're bringing this pan up to the boil now, and then we'll let it simmer. While we're doing that, we're going to mix a tablespoon of corn flour into this cup with a little touch of water, going in with a tablespoon. This is what we're going to use to thicken the curry sauce. And we always start with corn flour when you're using it as a thickener. Just start with a little bit of cold water first of all. If you throw it into a hot pan or hot water or hot anything, it's going to start to cook the flour straight away and cause lumps. So we just get that in there. Literally just mix it up until it's dissolved. It's kind of like a runny paste. In this case it's very runny. Make sure you've got no lumps in there. And then what we're going to do with this is just mix it in to this pan. And once that heats up, that'll all kind of thicken. Like I said, we're going to bring this to the boil and then turn it down to simmer. While that's happening, we're going to get started on our mushy peas. Before that though, I'm going to tidy it with a touch. Going into this pan is our peas. I would have used a smaller pan, probably more of a saucepan, but I bought one the other day, a new one, and it doesn't work. As in, it doesn't work on this convection, I think it's called. So basically there's like a magnetic coil inside the pan that helps the pan heat up, and that's actually broken it. So that's why I'm using this big pan for mushy peas. Right, as we can see here, that curry sauce is bubbling now, so I'm going to turn that down to simmer. I'm kind of just letting it thicken up. I will stir it every few minutes, but we are just going to let some of that water evaporate and just let it kind of thicken up. As you can see here, it's fairly runny at the minute. Our peas are going in. We want a cup of frozen peas. We're going to do a cup and a half of frozen peas. Traditional mushy peas are used. Can't get my words out. You generally use marrow fat peas for mushy peas, but in this case, we're just going to do a simple version with just some regular frozen garden peas. Really easy to do. Peas go in a pan, add a knob of butter. I'm going to add some salt, some pepper, and this is entirely optional. We're going to use just a few little mint leaves. Just remove those from the stalk. A little touch of mint gone in there. I'm going to add just a little splash of water, and then this lid is going to stay on. We'll kind of let that butter melt down, let those peas simmer away just on a very low heat. So once the butter actually melts, I'll turn these peas right down. Just to keep them kind of warm or hot even, and then just before we're about to serve, we're going to mash them up. I'm going to add a little bit more heat to that curry. You see there, it just needs to evaporate quite a bit. Let's have a little taste. And what we'll do, we'll let that curry evaporate just a little bit more, let it reduce just a touch more, and we will give it another taste. It's kind of tasting okay at the minute, but I think it does need more seasoning, it needs more spices going in, but I obviously want to let it reduce first before I do add those spices. Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to give that fish another, we're going to check the fish in a couple of minutes. We're going to see how long that's got left, and then what we'll do, we'll adjust everything accordingly. So when we've got 5 minutes left of the fish, 5 minutes left of the potatoes, of the chips, then we'll make a start on the fish. So until then, we are going to take a break, and I'll be back shortly for part 2.